Okay, ladies and gentlemen, it is Tuesday. You know what that means. It is time for some power rankings. NFL Week 17 power rankings right now. Only 2 of these left. I will be doing one next week after Week 17 is over. Obviously, Week 17 power rankings, or end of season power rankings, are weird because, you know, nobody really plays Week 17. People are sitting people, so it's hard to weigh what games matter and what games don't. But it's going to be a busy week. Like this upcoming week is going to be absolutely insane. I don't want to waste any more time. Let's get into these power rankings. What a crazy week. Week 16 was nuts. I'm left asking more questions than I have answers. I have no idea where some of these teams rank. What do you have? You have five or six teams in the AFC that are 10-5 right now. Like Week 17 is going to be insane. So let's not waste any time. Let's waste some more time. Subscribe to the channel, like the video, leave a comment. We've got some big stuff in the works and a giveaway at 300 subscribers. So make sure you subscribe to the channel. Don't want to miss out on that. Leave a comment, all that good stuff. You know what it is. Here we go. Power rankings. Number 32, it is the Jacksonville Jaguars. 14 straight losses, but it's the worst season in franchise history from a record perspective. But the best season in franchise history, as bad as that may sound, because they now have a chance to draft a generational talent at the quarterback position in Trevor Lawrence. So rejoice, Jacksonville Jaguars fans. You guys have clinched that number 1 spot in the draft, I guess I should say. And no matter what you do in Week 17, you cannot miss out on Trevor Lawrence. So I guess that's cause for celebration. Despite the horrible record, despite the 14 straight losses, despite some of the crazy shit that went on in the front office in the offseason going into this season, you now find yourself in a spot to draft one of the best quarterback prospects of all time. Moving on to number 31. Okay, remember this isn't a standings video. This isn't a standings update. This is a power rankings video. It's very much what have you done for me lately. And when it comes to the Houston Texans, they've been terrible. They've been sad. They've been embarrassing. They've just been embarrassing. Okay, so I have to put them at this 31 spot. Only because, again, it's not a standings update. Are the Jets a better team than the Texans? No, probably not. Are the Bengals a better team than the Texans? Well, they just beat them, so I guess so. But this team has lost four straight games. They really have nothing going for them. They're 4 wins this season, 2 wins against the Jags, 1 against the Patriots, 1 against the Lions. So they haven't beat a good team this season. They've had moments where they have not looked competitive really at all. Deshaun Watson's really the only thing going for this team. And they're currently sitting, I believe, at number 3 in the drafting order, but they don't have their pick. So it's just been a disaster of a season for the Houston Texans, really Houston sports in general. It's been sad. At number 30, we do have the Bengals, who I don't move a spot. Despite beating the Texans, the Bengals have won 2 games in a row. Brandon Allen has looked pretty good and has looked like, he could be a solid backup quarterback in this league. I don't know. I thought at times, Finley looked better than him. I thought Finley looked good against the Steelers, but Brandon Allen did look good against the Texans this week. I saw some people say some crazy shit on Twitter about how this was the best the Bengals offense looked all season, and it was with Brandon Allen and not Joe Burrow. I, no joke, saw people say that, which is a ridiculous thing to say. Obviously, what they're implying is ridiculous. But I don't know. It's interesting for the Bengals because from what I could tell, a lot of their fans were not all that happy with winning because they do want that number 3 pick so they can get Penei Sewell and build an offensive line to protect Joe Burrow. But I don't know. It's tough because as a young team, you want to win, right? So beating the Texans and beating the Steelers last week, obviously it probably puts you out of that number 3 pick contention. But, 2 solid wins to close out the season for a young team. It's not the end of the world. At number 29, it is the Jets. I do have the Jets in the top 30. It's just, how does this happen? Like, how did the Jets look so bad all season long? Then they pulled 2 wins out of their asses and wins against the Rams last week, who all season long I've been touting as a Super Bowl contender. I don't want to spoil anything because we'll talk about the Rams later, but I no longer feel that way. And I went against the Browns, who are, one of the better teams in football. I don't know if many people would call them a Super Bowl contender outside of the city of Cleveland, but they're a good team. And both of those teams, it's not like both of those teams were like already in the playoffs and just coasting. Who gives a fuck? Like, we're going to sit people. Both of those teams needed wins to help their playoff chances, and the Jets beat them. And it's got to be frustrating for Jets fans because Adam Gase is pulling trick plays out of his ass. He's calling play. He's coaching at a level he's never coached before. And it's got to be frustrating because it's like, where's this been? Where's this been this whole time? Whenever it looks like we're dead set on getting one of the best quarterbacks, one of the best quarterback prospects in NFL history, now all of a sudden you want to be this amazing coach. Now all of a sudden Sam Darnold wants to look good and you want to win games. It's got to be pretty frustrating. And I don't know what the Jets should do because I'm really not sold on Fields. I'm not sold on Fields at all. I think, the Jets are locked in to the number 2 spot. So it kind of looks like Fields might be the guy if that's what they want to go quarterback-wise. Maybe Zach Wilson. I don't know. But I don't think it's that bad of an idea for them to either draft Sewell or trade down, build a better roster. That way, when the opportunity arises again to draft a young quarterback, you have a more solid foundation built around him. Because look at all these quarterbacks. Look at all these young quarterbacks in recent years who have done really well. Usually all of them go to good situations or organizations that already have solid foundations built, and the Jets do not have that. So yeah, while Trevor Lawrence was this generational quarterback prospect, what is he going into? What would he have been going into on the Jets? Really nothing. A team that needed a complete and total overhaul. Is that a recipe for disaster? Yeah, that is. So maybe this is a blessing in disguise for them to flesh out the roster a little bit, and then bring in a quarterback when your team is more ready. Give Darnold another chance. I don't know. I'm honestly thinking that might be their course of action. All right, at number 28, it is the Lions, who just get blown out of the fucking water yet again. Stafford gets hurt. I don't know. Maybe that's the last time we saw Stafford in a Lions uniform. That's what a lot of people are starting to believe. But, this team has just really not been competitive now for weeks. It was a good story for a little bit because once Patricia got let go, they beat the Bears on that miracle game. But ever since then, really, it's just been a disaster. So we have the Lions here at number 28. At 27, it is the Broncos, who I do move up a spot. That's just kind of more due to what's going on around them. I don't like this Broncos team really all that much. But, Drew Lock has not been that terrible in recent weeks. I know the bar is in hell for Drew Lock because he has not been good. But by Drew Lock's standards, he has not been terrible. So I don't know what that means moving forward for this team. I don't know if that means that they bring Drew Lock back next year. That's a possibility. But we'll see. We'll see. This team is this is another one of these teams that is in a very weird position on draft night. Do they draft a quarterback? Because they will have, Trey Lance will probably be there. Zach Wilson may even be there by their pick. Or do they want to sort of flesh out their roster and run it back with Drew Lock? I don't know. They're kind of in similar situations to the Jets as far as their quarterback situation goes, where they have a young guy who has shown promise at times, who still has, years left on his contract. I don't know. We'll see. It's going to be interesting. At number 26, it is I don't even know who it is. Who is it? Oh, the Patriots. Ooh, God. This team is bad. This team is terrible. This offense is horrific. Cam Newton is horrific. He's terrible. I know Cam Newton has a big fan base. There are moments like last night, that touchdown run where he just truck sticked somebody. That was impressive. He has moments like that where it's yes, Cam Newton is a fun player to watch, but good God, the guy sucks. He just does not have it anymore. He just does not have it anymore. The Patriots need to move on. I don't think Stidham is the answer either. So I don't know if they draft a quarterback or if they go out and trade for one or sign one in free agency. I don't really know who's all available in free agency. But they need to do something. And they also need wide receiver help. They need a lot of help. And defensively, I know they have a lot of guys missing, but their linebacking core is shit. They can't stop the run. And now their secondary is sort of faltering because none of their other defense can do. No other unit on their defense can really do anything. So, I don't know. This team is bad. It kind of seems like with these dynasties across all sports, they almost always just kind of sputter out. They don't go out on top. The only one I can really think of off the top of my head was the Bulls in the 90s. They went out on top. Jordan retired. Phil Jackson moved on. They went out on top. Other than that, they just kind of sputter out. I think of the Spurs, right? The Spurs have just kind of sputtered out. It looks like the Warriors are just kind of sputtering out. And now the Patriots are going to be sputtering out. All right, at number 25, it is the Eagles, who drop a few spots after losing to the Cowboys 37-17, ending their season. They are now going to finish in last place in the worst division of all time. So that's, it's kind of funny. It's pretty funny. So this was kind of what I was concerned about, really. I wasn't ready to crown Jalen Hurts, the next coming of Jesus or anything like that, like a lot of Philly fans and a lot of NFL fans were, just because I knew no team had tape on him. There's no preseason. The guy hadn't played at all. So teams didn't know how to game plan for him, and he came out against the Cowboys and had his worst game of the season. I know statistically, he put up 450 yards, total yards, whatever it was, but he turned the ball over 3 times, I think it was, and just really did not have that good of a game and played a pretty big part in the Eagles losing this game. So, week 17 against Washington, if he's playing, which I honestly don't know, it'll be interesting to see how he performs, because it's going to be an interesting offseason in Philly. It is going to be a very interesting offseason in Philly. At number 24, we have the New York Giants, who just feel their playoff chances slipping away. I mean, there was a point just a few weeks ago where it felt like they were definitely in control of their own destiny. And in my opinion, they were in the driver's seat. I thought they were the best team in the NFC East. They won 4 straight games. It kind of felt like they were saying, yo, we know we sucked ass early in the season, but that's not really who we are. We're the team that won 4 straight games. No, they're not. They're terrible. This offense is just abysmal, man. It's one of the worst offenses I've ever seen. And I tried, it's sad. It actually is kind of sad, because I remember a lot of Giants fans, and I have a Giants, one of my best friends is a Giants fan. They were really excited about the Jason Garrett hire just because they thought, Jason Garrett didn't cut it as a head coach, but he could be a good offensive coordinator. I said, dude, I've seen this offense. I've seen the Cowboys offense with Jason Garrett at the helm. It's a disaster. And here we go again. It's a disaster. They haven't scored over 14 points in their last 3 games. 7 points, 6 points, 13 points. That is terrible. It's one of the worst offenses I've ever seen. It's so bad. At number 23, we have the Carolina Panthers, who move up a few spots after beating Washington football team 20-13. It wasn't the prettiest of wins, honestly. They jumped out in front 20-0. They didn't score a single point in the second half, and they let what was the dude's name? Heineke, the backup quarterback, or I guess the 4th string quarterback on Washington, sort of climb back in the game and give them a chance to win. But, I think it's fair, though, because the Panthers had plenty of games early in the season where they hung in with tough, with good teams, and they couldn't pull out a win. So them getting a win like this late in the season is nice. They're another one of these teams where, what do they do in the draft? Do they just continue to flesh out their roster? Remember last year, the Panthers drafted all defense in the draft. Do they continue to flesh out their roster and wait for a quarterback later down the road? Or do they, hope that a Trey Lance or Zach Wilson falls to them and draft their quarterback of the future? Because Teddy Bridgewater is not the answer. We know that. So I don't know. It's another one of these teams that has an interesting offseason ahead of them. At number 22, it is the Vikings, 52 points. God damn. This defense is terribly bad. Terribly bad. 6 touchdowns given up to Alvin Kamara. 6 touchdowns to 1 player. Ugh, man. And you have, Mike Zimmer, who's a defensive-minded coach. He's got to be on the hot seat, right? I don't know what the feeling is in Minnesota among Vikings fans in regards to Zimmer, but he's got to be on the hot seat, right? I mean, there's no way he's not. There's no way he's not. I know that their defense is terrible. I know it's young, it's inexperienced. They don't really have a lot of talent, but you can't be a defensive-centric coach and give up 52 points and have a defense that looks this bad. I don't know. Offensively, there are pieces. Is Kirk a guy who could will you to a Super Bowl? Yeah, depending on who you ask. Not in my opinion, but their offense is definitely talented enough. They need offensive line help, obviously. But this defense is so bad. Jesus, it's terrible. All right, number 21, it is the Atlanta Falcons, who I move up a spot despite losing. I just felt that, there's a good team hidden here. There really is. There's a good team hidden in this 4-11 record. There's a good team. There's the makings of a good team. Obviously, we've seen this team be good as recently as, 2 years ago? But, yeah, man, they just keep losing these tough, close games. If some of these things go their way, some of these tough breaks go their way, we're looking at a team that might be competing for a playoff spot going into Week 17. But obviously, they choked games away. It's kind of become their identity. And you have Younghoe Koo, who's, as sad as this may sound, has been probably the best player on the Falcons, or at least the most consistent player on the Falcons this whole season. Misses a field goal attempt there at the end of the Chiefs game to tie it. But, again, there's a good team hidden somewhere. There really is. I don't know what they do in the offseason with Matt Ryan, with the quarterback. I know I've seen a lot of mock drafts where they draft the quarterback of the future. I don't think it would be a bad idea to kind of do what the Chiefs did with Alex Smith and Patrick Mahomes a few years ago, where they draft a Zach Wilson, Trey Lance, whoever it is, let him sit for a year, maybe even 2, behind Matt Ryan, and then let Matt Ryan go his own ways, let him ride off to the sunset, retire, or go to another team for a chance to win the Super Bowl, and bring in your young quarterback. That's something they could do. They obviously, I don't know. I don't know. They need a lot of help defensively, offensively. But again, there's a good team hidden here. There is. At number 20, we have the San Francisco 49ers, who get a big win against the Arizona Cardinals. I kind of had a sneaking suspicion this would happen, that the 49ers, their season's over. They would do everything that they could to spoil things for a division rival, and they did against the Arizona Cardinals. Defensively, they look good. forced Kyler Murray into probably the worst game of the season for him, maybe one of the worst games of his young career. Is that taking it a little bit too far? I'm not sure. But, if you're a Niners fan, obviously this season has been a disaster, especially from like an injury standpoint mainly. But you've had win, you beat the Rams twice. You beat the Cardinals this past week. You've had some impressive wins, So you can go into the offseason knowing that if you can stay healthy next season, you're going to be a contender yet again. Obviously, is Jimmy G the guy? I don't know. CJ Beathard had an amazing game. So our San Francisco 49ers fans saying he's the future. I remember they did with Nick Mullins for a little bit. But we'll see. Another team that's going to have an interesting offseason. But if the 49ers can stay healthy, they'll be players again next year for sure. At number 19, we have the Dallas Cowboys, who cracked the top 20. Believe it or not, they're in the top 20. I think the way that these teams have been playing in recent weeks, the Cowboys might be the best team in the NFC East. I know this is very delusional, but I said, in a weird 2020, in a very strange year, okay, the year of the unexpected, does it not feel like this would be the season the Cowboys somehow make it to the conference championship game? Like, this team has not made the NFC championship game in 25 years. Does it not feel like this, for whatever reason, would be the year they somehow luck into it? Like, what looked like one of the worst seasons in franchise history, they now somehow luck into the NFC championship game. Obviously, I'm not predicting that. Like, I don't think that's going to happen. I don't even really know if this team makes the playoffs. But does it... It's just, I have a weird feeling. I just do. But, this team has been playing like, obviously their competition has been not very good. They've played the Browns. I'm sorry, not the Browns. They've played the Bengals, the 49ers, who are super beat up, and the Eagles over the past 3 weeks, 3 wins in a row. It's not the stiffest of top competition. Jesus Christ. I need a drink of coffee, man. It's too early for this shit. Is that Folgers? That's the best coffee I've ever had. See, I'm ready for when sponsors come knocking. But no, this Cowboys team has won 3 games in a row. And defensively, they've looked like a top 10, top 15 defense. Maybe top 10's a little too much, but a top 15 defense over the last 3 weeks. So, I don't know. I want this team to make the playoffs so bad, guys. I do. I'm rooting my ass off for it. All right, at number 18, okay, I know the Cowboys had 20. They're number 19. At number 18, it is the Las Vegas Raiders, whose season is over yet again. Last year, they had a complete and total collapse. This year, they have a complete and total collapse, losing to Miami on just a baffling, if it were not for Gruden's contract, he'd be on the hot seat. Like, seriously. Just baffling coaching decisions. I get the logic behind, okay, you kick a field goal, you go up 2, but you only give the Dolphins 20 seconds left. They don't have any timeouts. How could the defense possibly fuck this up? Well, they fucked it up, and everybody saw it coming a mile away. I would much rather score a touchdown, right? Go up 5 or whatever it would have been. Force the Dolphins to score a touchdown, even if you give them an extra 30 seconds. Just because it's much more difficult to go 75 yards down the field and finish the drive in the end zone than it is to go 40, 50 yards downfield and kick a field goal. And we saw that. So, baffling coaching decisions. This defense is just shit. It's the worst in the NFL. It's absolutely terrible. It's one of the worst defenses I've ever seen. I don't know how they... It's just like... I don't know. That Fitzmagic throw was just a perfect representation of this season for the Raiders. Just a stupid, boneheaded fucking mistake on the face mask, and then a guy who's wide open for no reason, right on the sidelines. The things you're supposed to be guarding, wide open, 30 yards downfield. Just terrible. At number 17, it is the Chargers, who, maybe I'm way higher on them than others, but, this is a better team than their 6-9 record would indicate. They have a top, statistically, they have a top 10 defense and a top 10 offense. Usually that means you're a really good team. The Chargers are 6-9, due in large part to, some young inexperience, but also due to terrible coaching. And I do feel bad for Anthony Lynn because I do think he's a good head coach. And I don't know. We know sometimes players get in their own heads after struggles and after bad performances, a string of bad performances, they start to get in their own head and overthink things. Maybe that's happening with Anthony Lynn because, he was good early on in his tenure with the Chargers. It's been terrible ever since, though. I don't know. I think that they probably do move on from Anthony Lynn, but I could see Anthony Lynn going somewhere else and being a good head coach, just like a change of scenery. But, they've won 3 in a row. Again, it hasn't been, the toughest of competitions. But if you're a Chargers fan, I know the record's disappointing. Anthony Lynn's been a disgrace. But you have to be excited by what you have seen this season from Justin Herbert and the rest of your team, especially considering you've also dealt with a lot of injuries as well. So there's, a lot of reason to be excited going into next season for the Chargers, especially considering if they do move on from Anthony Lynn, they'll have one of the more appealing head coaching destinations. They'll be one of the more appealing head coaching destinations just because they have a young, established franchise quarterback and some nice young and even veteran pieces to work with and a pretty high draft pick. So it's going to be interesting offseason for the Chargers. At number 16, we have the Washington football team, who I don't move despite a back-breaking loss to Carolina just because Alex Smith was hurt and Dwayne Haskins is pathetically terrible. Obviously, Dwayne Haskins gets cut. I've seen all the narratives. I don't really buy into those narratives. Obviously, if we're just being blunt, the NFL has had a history of some questionable racial moments. It does kind of feel like, especially from a head coaching perspective, black head coaches do not get the same opportunities that white head coaches get. It does kind of feel like white head coaches get a bit of a longer leash than black head coaches. And the same can be said for quarterbacks, but I really don't think that's the case with Dwayne Haskins here. Like, I've seen the narratives. I get it. But the dude is fucking terrible, man. Like, have you guys watched? As anybody who is saying, like, this is a racially charged thing, have you guys watched this guy play? He is shit. He's terrible. And he's also causing off-the-field issues. So, I mean, I thought it was a no-brainer, really, to cut him and move on. Obviously, I don't think it's the end of the road for Dwayne Haskins. I think that if he can get his head on straight and maybe go to a different place, get his confidence up, I really do think the XFL is a perfect destination for him whenever that comes back. Just, to give him a chance to get his confidence up against lesser opponents and just focus on football. I think that maybe he can be a good quarterback, but even then, I don't know. He's not athletic. He's not accurate. He's not willing to throw the ball deep. He really doesn't do much. The guy's just bad. So I have Washington here. I'm not going to punish them too much for losing because, you had a terrible quarterback performance. That quarterback's no longer on the team. Alex Smith is hopefully going to be back for Week 17, hopefully for Washington, not hopefully for me as a Cowboys fan. And their defense has been, like, absurdly good in recent weeks. Chase Young is playing out of his mind. At number 15, we have the Carolina Cardinals. God, it is too early. We have the Arizona Cardinals, who I have here. I'm not moving them a spot, despite losing to San Francisco. I thought it was Kyler Murray's worst game of his career. I've seen a lot of people blame Cliff Kingsbury. I don't think Cliff has been a great coach, but to put the blame solely on Cliff Kingsbury for that loss is absurd to me. I mean, Kyler was not good. Kyler was not very good at all. I don't think as a fan base you want to fall into this trap that every fan base with a young quarterback falls into, where you never ever blame your quarterback for anything. Kyler was just not good on on Saturday, and it was a big reason why the team lost. So it is what it is. Obviously, it's winning in for the Cardinals against the Rams this upcoming Sunday. Oh, man, I want this team to make the playoffs. I do, because I like Cliff as a Texas Tech alum. I love Kyler Murray. I think he's super fun to watch. I love DeAndre Hopkins. I love Budda Baker. I'm hoping this team can pull it off, but we'll see. At number 14, we have the Rams, who fuck this team. Yeah. I'm just disgusted by them. I really have nothing else to say. I have supported this team all year. I've defended this team every single step of the way, and this is how I get repaid? I said all year, this team is a dark horse Super Bowl contender. As long as Jared Goff doesn't fuck things up, this team could beat anybody and could win a Super Bowl. Their defense is that good. They're that well coached. Their offense has enough weapons, and they utilize those weapons well enough. But Jared Goff is shit. The guy sucks. He's absolutely terrible. He's pathetically bad. Okay? I've defended him. I haven't defended him, actually. But, I've been understanding. It is what it is. Like, he's not an elite top-tier quarterback. We already know that. But the guy's fucking awful. He has single-handedly lost at least 4 games for the Rams. At least 4. The guy sucks ass. And they might not even make the playoffs because of it. And you know what? They don't deserve to. I really don't think this team deserves the playoffs. They just don't. Pathetic. Jared Goff, you suck, buddy. All right, moving on to number 13. Who is it? The Bears. What? The Bears 13? After how hard I was on them early in the season? But, dude, what is it? They've scored 30-plus points 4 straight weeks. Mitchell Trubisky looks good. Nagy, it's like, is this sustainable? Like, is this who Matt Nagy is? Or is Matt Nagy going to stick around? Because I did see reports that Matt Nagy was safe. So is Matt Nagy going to come back next year and be on the same bullshit he was early in the season? That would be a nightmare for Bears fans. So, I don't know. They have a very good shot of making the playoffs now. I think that they control their own destiny, right? I think they control their own destiny. They have a tough matchup against Green Bay, and Green Bay is going to be playing because they want that 1 seed. So it's going to be interesting to see if they can keep up this performance against, a better team. Again, 34 straight weeks of 30 straight points. 4 straight weeks of 30 points or more. I'm kind of getting sucked in, which is funny considering how hard I was on this team earlier in the year. All right, at number 12, we have the Browns. Oof. I didn't want to go too hard on the Browns because, they've been good all season long. And what was it? Like, pretty much their entire wide receiving room had to sit out this game. Their entire wide receiver core had to sit out this game because of COVID exposure. So I don't want to go too hard on them. But, man, you lose to the Jets in a must-win game, a game where you win and you're in the playoffs, right? If the Browns won this game, they were in the playoffs. To lose it, it's just the most Cleveland Browns shit of all time, dude. It's like even in a year where you're having probably the best year in franchise history, you still managed to Cleveland Browns it up at the end by losing to the Jets, and now you're in a must-win Week 17 scenario against the Steelers. But it does sound like Big Ben is not playing, so that's good, right? And if the Browns don't win on Sunday and they miss out on the playoffs, they deserved it. It's just that simple. They deserved it. They played themselves out of it. They played themselves out of it by losing to the Jets. Baker had a bad game. Again, it's kind of like what I was talking about with Kyler Murray and the Cardinals. Browns fans have sort of fallen into this pit where they now no longer want to criticize their quarterback for anything. Baker did not play good against the Jets, and it's a big reason why they lost. And I honestly thought Stefanski had his worst game of the season. You don't have your running back. You don't have your wide receivers. You have, in my opinion, the best running back in the NFL in Nick Chubb. You have the best number 2 running back in the NFL in Kareem Hunt. Why the fuck are they not getting 30 touches each? Obviously, 30 touches each is an exaggeration, but they were not as involved in the game plan as they needed to be. And I get, the Jets sold out to stop the run. Like, they were going to force Baker to beat them with the Z team wide receivers. But tough loss, man. Oof. I'm rooting for them to make the playoffs just because my boy Nelson. Shout out to Nelson. And also, I like this Browns team. But, man, tough loss. At number 11, we have the Dolphins, who I don't move despite winning. How sustainable is this? I've said it before. How sustainable is it? When you have Tua, who is your, I tried to pronounce his last name, but I knew I was going to fuck it up, so I stopped midway through it. You have Tua, who is your starter, and you have Ryan Fitzpatrick, who is your closer. Like, how sustainable is just constantly switching your quarterbacks? I don't know. But you know what? I respect the shit out of Brian Flores. I love Brian Flores. He has gigantic nuts for saying, yo, Tua, we know that you're, the face of the franchise. Like, you're the centerpiece of this franchise moving forward, but you're just not playing good enough. So we're trying to make the playoffs. Fitz, get in there. And Fitz, of course, pulls off Fitz magic shit. I had some friends who I was watching the game with friends, and I had some friends who were like, dude, why are you taking Tua out? He's had a good game. The guy I don't know if it's the game plan or if Tua just is not capable of throwing the ball downfield, but they can't move downfield with Tua right now. They just can't. I think he just hits his checkdowns way too much. He's scared to throw the ball deep. I don't know what it is, but that was kind of a criticism of Tua heading into the draft, was that he went to his first read way too often. Obviously, in the NFL, you can do that in Alabama when you have the talent Alabama has, but in the NFL, it's a little bit different. And it just feels like he goes to his check down too much, and they can't really move the ball downfield to Tua. But we'll see. This defense is good enough. Obviously, they're incredibly well coached. I'm rooting my ass off for this team to make the playoffs, that's for sure. I love the Dolphins. At number 10, we have the Titans. I don't want to go too hard on them for losing to Green Bay, an amazing team on the road, tough place to play, and in a snowstorm. Like, I'm not going to go that hard on them. But it did highlight how terrible their defense is. And their defense is absolutely terrible, and it's going to hold them back. That's pretty much all I'll say about that. Like, I don't really have much to say about the Titans. The defense is bad. We've known this all season long. And if you can limit them from getting Derrick Henry involved early, you have a very good chance of winning. We saw this against the Browns a few weeks ago where the Browns got out to an early lead. They stopped Derrick Henry in the first couple drives, and now the Titans are playing from behind, and they can't really play the game they want to play, which is just pound it with Derrick Henry, and then use that running game to then, throw the ball deep to A.J. Brown or Corey Davis. And, if you take that away from them, they'll struggle. And Sunday night was a prime example of that. At number 9, it is the Colts. Oh, brutal loss, man. Brutal loss. What were they up? Were they up 25 to... What were they up? 25 to 7? Was that how much they were up at one point? And they ended up choking the game away? A giant loss for them because they could have sealed the playoffs. I think they could have even sealed the division if they had hung on and kept that game. Now I'm not even sure that they can. They don't even control their own destiny now. So just a terrible loss. I still really like this team, though. I think if they do make the playoffs, they're going to be a very tough team to play. They have a very good defense and an offense that can be good at times. But, man, brutal loss. Brutal loss. At number 8, it is the Steelers. Obviously, I was very hard on the Steelers after their 3-game losing streak. Dropped them completely out of the top 10. But now I'm putting them back in the top 10. We'll see, right? It was a nice, impressive showing in the second half of that game against the Colts. Offensively, they're doing all of the things that people have been wanting them to do all year. Big Ben was throwing the ball deep. They were getting Claypool involved. They were getting Juju involved. Juju's had a nice past couple of weeks. They're getting Claypool involved. Is that sustainable, though? Can they do it in the playoffs? Because it sounds like they're going to rest Big Ben. This upcoming week. I don't know if that's the best of decision, to be honest with you. I don't know if that's the best decision, just because their offense has not been that good. So I feel like maybe it could have been an opportunity for them to continue to build on their offense. But, I understand resting Big Ben. I understand it. So we'll see. Obviously, this defense is good enough to win a Super Bowl. If their offense is just mediocre, they can be good enough to win a Super Bowl. But it's tough to put your faith in this team after what we saw, in that 3-game losing streak, where their offense was just terrible. Just terrible. But a nice win against Indy, big win against Indy, a nice showcase there, a nice showing there in the second half of that game. So we have the Steelers at 8. At number 7, it is the Ravens, who have, they looked really good in recent weeks. Again, it's kind of tough to gauge them because they really have not played anybody, but their offense looks really good. Lamar looks really good. They're running the shit out of the ball. Gus Edwards is a beast. He had a monster game against the Giants. J.K. Dobbins is a beast. Lamar, obviously, when he's running the ball, we know what he does. So the Ravens, are they back? I don't know. They have, they could easily miss out on the playoffs, but they're kind of looking scary like they did early in the season, where their offense can just run the shit out of the ball and their defense is improving a lot in recent weeks. So we have the Ravens here at 7. At number 6, we do have the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Big jump for them. A little bit too big of a jump, maybe. But this is what I said I wanted to see from this team in our picks video last week, where I said, no like tough, tight wins against these two. They played the Lions obviously this past week, dominated them, and then they played the Falcons week 17. No tightly contested wins. Dominate those games and instill some confidence going into the playoffs. And they did that against the Lions, 47-7. How many points did they score in the first half? Was it 34? 34 points scored in the first half. None of the starters, or at least Tom Brady. Tom Brady did not play a second in the second half. That's how much they dominated this game. Because they scored 31 points in the second half of the game last week against the Falcons. So over 4 quarters, they scored 65 points. That's absolutely nuts. And that just kind of shows you what this team is, dude. They can beat anybody. When they're clicking, this is like the second best team in the NFL. Honestly, they have an amazingly good defense and so many offensive weapons. And it's just so frustrating when they're not clicking for whatever reason. It's just so frustrating. But if this is the direction this team is headed, if their offense is figuring it out, oh God, they could definitely win it all. They could absolutely win it all. At number 5, we have the Seattle Seahawks, who, what is this team? Can someone explain to me this team? Early in the season, it looked like they had the worst defense to ever exist, right? It looked like Russell Wilson was going to have to carry this team on his back and win every single game 38-35. That's what it looked like early on. Now, all of a sudden, it's like the roles are reversed, right? It's like their defense is almost willing them to win, and their offense is just kind of doing whatever it has to do to win the game. That's what it feels like. It's insane. Jamal Adams really has made a gigantic impact on this defense. Worth the 2 picks and worth whatever it is they're going to have to pay him? I don't know. It's hard to see how their defense has played in recent weeks and think otherwise. So the Seahawks, I don't know. I don't know how good they are as far as the playoffs go. Are they going to make a Super Bowl run? I just don't feel like it. But if their defense continues to play like this, and maybe we get a little bit more out of the offense, then they're definitely capable of it. At number 4, I have no movement in my top 4, by the way. Just spoilers. No movement at all. I'm keeping the Packers at 4 despite beating up on the Titans, who I think are a good team on Sunday night. I just think a lot of things went their way. Obviously, they had a few, big-time calls go their way, which is just par for the course for any Packers game. I'm sorry. I've never seen a team get the benefit of so many calls than the Packers. Okay? It's gone beyond the point of coincidence. It just has. Sorry. Like, this team, every single 50-50 call goes the Packers' way. Every single, even 80-20 call where the Packers have a 20% chance of benefiting from it, all of those calls go the Packers' way, it feels like. It just is what it is. I think the Packers benefit a lot from the refs. But, I thought they played really well offensively. Obviously, Aaron Rodgers is the MVP. He's having – I know we speak hyperbolic on this show all the time, but is Aaron Rodgers having, one of the best seasons of all time? Is that a conversation we need to start having? The dude's been insane. Devontae Adams is unstoppable. Devontae Adams and Aaron Rodgers, this connection is absurdly good. It's absurd how good it is. And now all of a sudden, A.J. Dillon, oh my God, that guy is a bowling ball. That guy bounces off of everybody. That guy is a pinball. Is it a bowling ball or a pinball? What's that phrase? That guy is a pinball. He bounces off of everything. Jesus. He was impossible to tackle. He looked like the real deal. If they want to move on from Aaron Jones, A.J. Dillon looked like the real deal on Sunday night. So the Packers, obviously, they're a very good team. Defensively, there's a lot of question marks, even though they did play well. I think they forced Tannehill to turn the ball over, 4 times on Sunday night. They did a pretty good job of containing Derrick Henry, who's always going to get his, really, no matter what. But they did as good of a job as you could have asked. And offensively, they are absurdly good. Maybe the best offense in the NFL, one of the best offenses in the NFL, and they are well coached by the floor, and they have the best quarterback in the NFL right now. All right, number 3, we have the Saints. Christmas Day slaughter of the Vikings, 52-33. I've said before, if Alvin Kamara is not in the MVP conversations this year, a running back will never win it again. I don't think he'll win it, but I think he should finish top 3. He's so important to this offense, and you could definitely tell. And you can definitely tell that his role is a lot more defined when Breeze is playing over Taysom Hill. He just has such an impact on this offense, and so does Drew Brees. Drew Brees might not be the best anymore. He might not have the arm strength he used to have. He might not air it out like he used to, but you can tell, obviously he's a much better option than Taysom Hill. And this defense, I know they give up 33 points, but this defense is coming around in a big way. So the Saints, in my opinion, they're the best team in the NFC, but it's not like a wide gap or anything. Them and the Packers, and honestly the Bucs, when the Bucs are playing like they're capable of, are all neck and neck. I could see any of those teams winning it. All right, at number 2, we have the Bills, who yet again just look completely unstoppable on the offensive side of the ball. They put up 38 points against, admittedly a bad Patriots defense. But, dude, there are times in this offense, it's like, how in the hell are you supposed to stop it? Josh Allen can run. He's one of the best running quarterbacks in the NFL. He can throw the shit out of the ball. He has one of the best arms in the NFL. And now all of a sudden, he's one of the most accurate passers in the NFL. And you have Stephon Diggs, who's one of the best wide receivers in the NFL. You have Cole Beasley, one of the best slot wide receivers in the NFL. You have Dawson Knox, who is, a very sneaky good tight end. The running game, again, it leaves a little bit to be desired. But good God, I don't know how you can stop this team. And when the playoffs come around, you want to pick up that running game. I didn't think they ran the ball poorly or anything like that. 130 yards? That's pretty solid. But it would be nice if you could rely a little bit more on your running backs. Maybe that's something they need in the offseason. I'm not entirely sure. But and this defense. This defense has came around in a big way. Early in the season, it looked a little bit rough, but it has definitely picked it up. This team can challenge the Chiefs. They really can. This team is good. This team is very, very good. This team is very, very capable of winning a Super Bowl. 100%. And, of course, at number 1, we have the Chiefs, who, to be 100% honest with you, man, they've kind of just been early on in the season, definitely, and up until, I would say week 12 or so, it looked like the season wasn't even worth playing. It reminded me of those Warriors years where the Warriors had KD and it was like, why are we even wasting our time? Just give them the championship, right? That's what the Chiefs looked like early on. They've kind of just been, they haven't been very good. Patrick Mahomes hasn't been very good. I would probably say, I'd probably venture to guess that, they're just kind of going through the motions at this point, kind of cruising their way to the playoffs. You can make the argument that can you pick it back up? If you start cruising, can you pick it back up and get back in that mode? I think this team is definitely capable of doing it. So I still think the Chiefs are the best team in the NFL. Obviously, they have the number 1 seed wrapped up in the AFC, so no real reason to play next week. And, the Chiefs, I think that they're the team to beat, obviously. They've been the team to beat all year. They were the team to beat last year. But I do think the Bills can do it. I really do. I do think the Bills can do it. So that's what we got for you this week. I know this one was a little bit longer. Just had a lot to say, man. Just, talkative guy. All right, so make sure you leave a comment, like the video, subscribe to the channel, all of that good stuff, and we will see you on our picks videos here in a couple of days. Okay, have a great day. Bye.